everyone, I'm Silvia.
I'm Michal.
And my name is Pleasant.
And today we're going to have the huge pleasure of interviewing Pleasant, who is our dear friend, and he's also a storyteller and author. And more than being a storyteller, he is actually one of the few people in the world who invented storytelling as a profession.
Helped to create the profession, because storytelling has been with us from the time of the beginning.
Perfectly said. So, Pleasant, we have a few questions for you today.
I'm happy to share.
And we'll start with your journey, because it's quite a unique one, because you told us that you decided that you will take this journey in this lifetime on this planet on your own, and rather to find a partner, you will discover what it is to be alive just as an individual human being, and we're very curious about the reasons behind it and the purpose.
Well, let me share that when I was 9 years old, I told my mother 3 things. And then forgot about it. When I was 38 years old, my mother said, "How did you know, and what did you mean by this time?" And as soon as she said that, because I have a visual memory, I was right back there in our small kitchen in the house. It was after school, and my mother was baking a chocolate cake. And she said, "Honey, you look really serious. What's going on?" And I said, "Well, Mom, I've made 3 decisions." "Well, okay, what?" "First, I've decided that I'm not going to be in the military." Well, I said the army, meaning military. "I'm not going to be in the army this time." "Oh, good," she said. "Your father was in the army. You don't need to go to be there. What else?" I said, "Well, I'm not going to have a regular job." "Oh," she said, you're smart. You're going to go to school. You'll have a good job." I said, "Oh, I'll work, but not a regular job." "Okay, well, what else?" "I'm not going to get married this time." "Oh, of course you are." and so on. And because all 3 had come true without any question, at age 38, she asked me, "What did you mean by this time?" And what I meant as an innocent boy, I knew that I had a journey. I didn't know much consciously about that journey at that age, but by age 38, I certainly did. Now, when you ask the question, how have you traveled solo? It's very important for me to share that I've never been alone on this journey. None of us are. But I have specifically and purposefully not entered into relationship, although I've had many affairs in my life and they've been wonderful, and almost all of them have turned out beautifully. We're still very good friends. But I asked, especially in the 70s, when there was so much dating going on, and I am a gay man, and I asked my friends, well, why can't I find anyone? I was young then. And they said, "Oh, you don't need anyone." And really, that is at the core of the journey. I think the question is, do you, as an individual, need in order to manifest your own destiny? Now, I came with some awareness of my destiny, which is very simple and clear, to find out what this is all about. To evolve, to grow as a human being. And I will share that it's not been easy. I've had many challenges. But a few things happened that were very significant for this journey, including my decision to go out on my own as a storyteller when there was no such thing. I'm well educated, and I'd already taught at 3 schools, universities, and I decided to just let that go and somehow go out and make a living telling stories. They laughed at my colleagues, and it did take 5 years. But step by step, story by story, my profession grew. And then newspaper articles and TV appearances started happening in the Pacific Northwest in the United States, in Seattle. And the mayor named me Seattle's resident storyteller. It was so wonderful. It was what a gift. And then that led to a television show that I wrote and produced and hosted for children called Pleasant Journeys. And then that led to the first 2 books, because I've collected stories with my travels all over the world, much of my life, all of my adult life. And so all of the writing has occurred. And now those stories, because they're traditional primarily, are used everywhere, particularly with children, in schools, English as a second language, bedtime stories. But we get back to the nature of story. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And any good story travels. And so all traditional tales have variants, meaning that you could travel back and find the very beginnings of a story like Jack and the Beanstalk. Goes back to the 12th century. But then you find all the variations. Like the Cinderella story has more than 500 variants because it's an important story in consciousness. And every child before the age of 7 must hear this story. Same with Jack and the Beanstalk for boys. It's so important. We won't go into all of the reasons why right now, but consciousness creates story. Human life creates story. My particular story is one of the self growing along the path and experiencing it without the karmic implications of another. I have a blessed family, and a large one at that. I'm one of the very fortunate people who say, as an adult my age, and I'm almost 75, that I have siblings that I adore and they adore me, and they all have families, and we're very different human beings. And we live in different places, and we have our own experiences and our own karmas. But my family loves me, and I love them, and we all know that. We all can rely on each other. I am blessed with family. Now that is an incredible gift, but so much of it goes back to the healing that has occurred within my family, step by step. And every step that I've taken alone, and never being lonely, has led to a healing step for the whole family. We don't have to acknowledge that or recognize it. I would never go to one of my brothers and say, hey, guess what I've done for you? No. This life journey is about healing. And healing is so much more than the body, the mind, the spirit. Healing is to make whole. And to make whole is to be part and parcel and accept completely our role in what we call this life journey. So it gets back to manifestation. You see, we've all been given this so powerful gift, which we often misuse. And we often create something beautiful, which is more life, better life. I've been in search of light and life, and therefore I have wanted to travel without a lot of extra weight, as so many of us do now. And I mean that metaphorically as well as practically. And so a real part of my journey has been shedding that weight in healthy ways in order to travel more quickly and to have more experience of light and life. And the reason I'm often asked, well, aren't you lonely? And the answer is no. If life is full, the less you have to carry, the more you get to experience. And I believe that I'm quite fortunate in that my life is full. In so many ways, my heart is full. I have many, many friends, of course, all over the world. I have friends from my childhood days. We're still alive and we still care for each other. I have friends that I met in the early days of my coming out that are some of my dearest friends. And, the journeys they've been through, and they've witnessed mine. And I think witnessing is a big part of it, because when there is a genuine witness without the need to be superior, or the need to make more, or the need to get back at. When the witness can see clearly, with openness, wow, that is a support system. And I've had support all my life, and I will continue to do so. But then too, I support. And so sharing these stories, yes, I am a teller of tales. What I didn't realize in the beginning, and I do much more now, is that I finally have a major story to share about the nature of human evolution, because karma is natural, part of nature. And nature always requires balance. There's no judgment, good, bad, right, wrong. It's about balance, coming into balance. One cannot come into fullness and complete awareness without balance. And I can't live one way and share stories another way. I can only, and the other thing is that in the beginning I was there to entertain and to inspire. That was my goal. Because there were no storytellers that I was aware of, but there were, of course. Always have been, always will be. Every human being is a storyteller, because every life is a story.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to listen to you every time.
Yeah.
Well, you are giving the gift that every storyteller so enjoys. That is the gift of genuine listening, you know. and that is something else about human life, human travel, and sharing stories. That it's give and take. I don't have a memorized script. I could never tell the story that I've memorized. What was the sentence? No. But I can and always have had this visual memory. And once I go there, then the words come based on the feeling. And the listener is just as responsible for the success of the story as is the teller, as is the story. So there is balance.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
I also have a philosophy that I have shared many times with others, and that is less is more if less is full. And so often when we share our stories, the beginning is, let me share my pain with you, because it will help me so much for you to hear my story and share my pain. I say, please, thank you, no. Everyone suffers. It's part of our journey. And yes, there will be parts of our story that are painful, but it's not about the teller laying on to the listener that pain. but to be very clear about, this is a difficult part of my story, but I have worked through so much of that pain that I'm okay to share it. Even if I weep a few tears along the way, I'm okay. And then that story works. Yeah.
So have you found, what would you say were or have been or are your main challenges or challenging situations, difficult moments when, you know, as a storyteller and as a solo traveler and as a unique human being that you are?
Some of the largest challenges in my life have been self-acceptance, because my culture told me how wrong, how bad, how evil I was as a gay man. I actually came out in the 60s in the United States, and that was a very difficult time. And I thought, you know, I'm one of the very few, and I just don't fit into this society. I just don't fit into this world. Of course, I soon found I had many colleagues. But one of the greatest challenges was accepting that my path this time was to be a solo traveler, not only in journeys, because I started traveling all over, wherever I could afford to go in the world, and gathering and collecting stories and listening to stories. And there I am at 10 p.m. on a Friday night, and I don't have a date. And how do I make that, how do I reconcile that, yeah, this is okay? And so there were those times of doubt in the early days, but I would always find someone, something, some place. And I learned early on, move, get up, walk away, walk over there, take a little journey here, try this cafe. And because I was often sitting alone wherever I was, someone would come by. We would sit down, and what would happen? Share our stories, a little here, a little there, and make that human connection. I believe that the Creator, this incredible being, loves stories, of course. But just imagine if we've only had 10 lives. Now, I was born and raised Western. One life, you do good, you go to heaven. You don't, you go to hell. And I am not a Buddhist this time around. I am a Westerner. I was raised as a Christian. But I have found the balance between Western and Eastern by being attracted to the Eastern world and reading the Zen stories and understanding the Eightfold Path of the Buddha and accepting and ultimately coming to the very same conclusion in every philosophy and every religion, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you, for this is the nature of karma, and you cannot escape it, and you are part of it. And at one level of consciousness, before you were born into this incarnation, there was an agreement based on our past. It had to be a software program that is unfathomable because it's so complex to pull in and to have agreements with potential parents and siblings and grandparents, and at some level of awareness that is quickly forgotten upon taking the first breath in the birth, in the body, in this incarnation. But at that higher level of awareness, there's agreement. Yes, this journey will not be easy, but this journey will most likely lead to the potential, because we always have free will, although free will is never really free, because take what you want, there's a price on everything, you will pay for it. and the beauty of karma is that it doesn't forget. So if we just take, for example, 10 lives, and say there are 6 to 8 key people in each of those lives, just imagine how many stories are involved creating the next life. But it's far more than 10. Because time doesn't matter except here on Earth. And time is built on a story, beginning, middle, and end. There is no time restriction out there. It's here. And so we have so many breaths in this life. We have so many years in this life, based on how we live and what our DNA says, all of those things. It's very complex. But this is not the only experience, nor will it ever be. And stepping off the wheel, this karmic wheel, it's not easy, and it is possible in this life. It can happen in a moment. It can happen. It's taken me a long time. No, I'm not enlightened. Clearly, let me say that. No, I have a ways to go. I'm very aware of that. But I do have, at this point, more light and more life in this solo experience. Now, I certainly don't recommend it as the path. I do not have answers for everyone. I don't. I would never take on that responsibility. But I do have stories. And that being alone and facing the challenges and continuing to move forward, and the fact that I began meditating, seriously so, 46 years ago, has helped me enormously. Because it is through meditation, and there are so many possible ways to meditate. Find what works for you. And I started with transcendental meditation in 1972, and upon my initiation, I knew, oh, this works. And I've had some wonderful experiences ever since. Now, I'm not a strict transcendental meditator following the exact laws and rules and processes and here's how you do it. No, that's never worked for me. I'm a solo traveler. But the basis of my meditation is my mantra with some advanced techniques and then certain things with breath that I've learned over the years. And so how you get through it is having a desire that is greater than the pain or the difficulty along the way. Yes, this is a hard time. What am I seeking? Light and life. What's my next step? Meditate. Something else occurs. More than one time in my life, I have asked my higher self for direction. I have asked my dreaming self for direction, knowing that the decision is always mine. There's no premeditation, there's no destiny carved in sand, let alone stone. It's up to us. We have everything required, everything necessary, and we're the only ones who can do it. But I have gained awareness with possibilities from my higher self. And we all have a higher self. And the same is true with my dreaming self. I've asked specifically, and through the dream came possible answers that have helped me move to the next step, and so on and so forth. So that's how, having the goal, not knowing that we'll achieve it, but knowing its value. It's worth everything. I am such a rich man in the most important ways. Yeah.
Wow, so it seems like despite the challenges, you've developed quite a big awareness of those ways how to overcome those challenges in your life. And was it a gradual process for you to find those different
Yes.
answers to your problems?
A very good question, because it all begins with questions. And when I was young, I was so fortunate to meet a few key people in my life who had some of the answers. And so I would ask, well, how did you get to that awareness? How do you know this for yourself? And then I would listen and oftentimes learn. That's why preaching and preachers of all kinds, all ilks, have never worked for me. I do not want to hear a proscription of here's how you should live the act. So I'm fortunate enough that at an early age I realized no. But I was a good boy, and I did listen, and I worked hard in school, and I was not rebellious. I couldn't be as a child. I had a very stern, strict father, but I knew I was loved. My mother made a huge difference and gave me permissions at times that my father would never understand or see. And there were reasons for that, and I certainly understand them now. But my mother one time said to me, because I would ask about, well, what's your role in life? And she just answered immediately, oh, my role is to be a good mother. And she was. She was. Those key relationships, our parents and our siblings, herein lie the answers to the biggest questions we have. It's about our relationships with those closest to us, even when we're at arm's length. Joseph Campbell said something to the effect, so powerful, you have to go into the darkest cave in order to find the greatest treasure. And the darkest cave in my life was with my father. And I won't go into the whole story now, it'll be in the book. I've already written that chapter. But my father and I had a revenge cycle in this life. And I experienced several lives where, the horrible things he did to me, and I got him back. And it wasn't always sequential, and we did it in different ways. Knives played a key role, a symbol was the sharp knife. And once I understood this and accepted this, then the challenge was for me to heal the relationship with my father in order to let go of that heaviness. That's what I came to do in this incarnation. If I'm to move forward, I have to deal with that which is real in my life. Now, I did it on my own because I couldn't involve my father. And in the end, it's a truly beautiful story because we were able to truly forgive each other, although he never understood or knew in this incarnation about our relationship, except that there was a shift after I'd gone through my process of healing, and that at the end I looked at my father, who had just challenged my life in this incarnation, and I was in my early 40s at this point. And the old warrior in him was startled by my appearance at his door on Christmas Eve. He knew I was coming, but he opened the door and he saw a different man. And the old warrior in him, a voice came out of him I'd never heard in this life. And he said to me, if you ever besmirch, harm my name, I will follow you to the ends of the earth if necessary, and I will kill you. Well, it was about acknowledging that I was gay and so many things that he feared about me and that I had become a totally different person, and that we loved each other, but we didn't like each other very much, all of that. But it was a very dramatic moment in my life. And I stood there at the door with Christmas gifts in hand, my coat and scarf wrapped around. And I looked at him, and I could have come back in three ways. One is I could have turned and run. I mean, flee. Two, I was strong enough. I had the voice, which I could have really caused him pain with my words. But instead, I took a breath, and out of this breath came these words. Bypassing here, these words were, "You're right, Dad. I have been an imperfect son. I ask you to forgive me." He turned around. He went into the condo unit. He went into his bedroom. He closed the door. And his wife, at that time, just stood in the corner, wringing her hands. She said, take off your coat, sit down. And I did. About 15 minutes later, he came out of his bedroom. And he looked at me in the eyes, and he said, "Son, I have been an imperfect father. Please forgive me." And it was over. The battle ended forever. He and I will never have another incarnation together. It's over. God bless him. He came as part of his journey to heal this and gave me life in this incarnation. How blessed am I to have been able to consciously forgive us, forgive me, and accept me. And I will tell you, the last 10 years of our relationship together before he died, we would actually speak on the phone at least once a month and talk about more than football and more than the weather. And he would tell me more than one time what a son must hear from his father, one way or another. I love you, son, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you for listening.
Very,
Yeah.
Wow.
very powerful moment.
It's beautiful to see how this surrender, this ultimate surrender, is. I think we are so often expecting that the culminating of a certain conflict or a certain situation or relationship has to end in drama or this explosion, and it's actually the opposite.
Yes.
It's the
Very
ultimate
good,
surrender.
Sylvia, very good. It's not about winning and making someone lose, but you used a very important word, surrender. For me, surrender does not mean give up. It means give in to what is so. And what is so is real. What is so is truth at that moment. What is so is the whole experience. And so, by surrendering into what is so, one can find the peace, the lack of drama. So often drama is all caught up with ego. And drama is story. And oh, did we have it out. So I've got another story to tell now. Yeah. Yeah, less is more if less is full. Let's create a little less drama and a little more of the surrendering into that which is. Part of the challenge, as you have asked, is being honest with oneself. We have so many ways of protecting our ego. And we are human. Ego is real. And we all want to be able to walk comfortably down the street within our own body. I will share this too very quickly. The more light and more life that has come into my experience in this incarnation, the healthier I have grown, not only in spirit, but in my body. It's amazing. To wake up in the morning and say, especially at my age, I love my age, I feel so good. I feel alive. What will this day bring? What will I create? Co-create, really. Because and the other thing, finally, about being alone is that we're never alone. My guardians. I will not tell the story now, but I've had my life saved by my guardians 3 times in this incarnation, literally saved. It was not my time to die. And they have intervened at the moment, and my life was saved. Ask me if I'm appreciative. God bless it. Thank you, Buddha. Yes. Things, and I'm certainly not alone in that. Many of us have that story to tell. The near-death experience, saved at the last moment. How did that happen? And the miracle of coincidence, which is really not coincidence. Our meeting just a few weeks ago and saying hello, you seeing something in me seeing something in you. And of course, what I saw was light. What I saw was energy. What I saw was the same desire that we all have as human beings to find our place, accept it, and move forward. Yeah, this is what it's all about. So I believe. Well, let me say this because I'd like to share it with whoever's watching and whoever's listening. First, I want to say to all of you out there and here, one, you are high-born. Know and recognize that. By that I mean you came into this life. If you're interested in your spiritual growth, and I know you are, in your own human evolution, then you came into this incarnation with certain gifts that give you that step forward. One, being highborn means essentially that you were loved or are loved when you come into this life. Vital. 2, that you had food and shelter and education and socialization. Vital. And that you, through your evolution, ages 1 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, each of these 7-year experiences are very important. But between, especially the ages of 14 through 21 and 21 through 28, that you began your journey, the searching. And you have a foundation now. Not everyone is highborn in this world. It's so obvious when you just look at the suffering that is going on. So often that is the case individually of, yes, at some level of awareness, I choose this suffering in my incarnation in order to evolve. But let's not judge that, because karma doesn't judge. It is what it is. It seeks balance. So in order for me to seek balance, I will take this kind of journey. So for all of us who are on this journey with awareness, it begins with being highborn. Recognize that. Accept that. Move forward with that. And then know, capital K, know that your story counts. Your life is your story. Your true story is your life. With all of it, the pain, the growth, the joy, the happiness, the suffering. the loss. It is drama. It is high drama. It is our nature. The creator of all loves story. And we're a part of that. We've all agreed. Let's go make some stories. So perhaps we should end there.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful ending.
Yeah.
Thank you for this conclusion.
Oh.
And thank you for all of this.
And thank both of you.
It's really wonderful to listen. It's so. It's magic, you know. It's like so many things are happening. It's not only reaching clarity, you know, some dots are connecting, but you have this gift of inspiring. But it's, yeah, I like what you said before, that it's not this preaching style, you know, like giving a prescription of this will work for you.
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of, I see that so often, because we tend to, you know, think that we know the answer, something worked for us, therefore it has to be like this, and you know, therefore you should do it this way because I did it this way, and you know, it worked or it didn't, but I know this way, right?
Yeah.
This ego desperately wanting to be recognized.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good point, Michal, because when I realized early on, I do have stories, I don't have answers for everyone. What I realized was, I don't need anyone else to believe this in order for me to continue my journey. What a freedom is that? No one has to accept it. No one has to like it, because that's not what it's about. Yeah. And the amazing thing is how much support I, you, all of us have on this journey. And the ego gets to take the ride, but the ego's not in control. It's a much more powerful force. And that is the force of nature moving forward. I always go back to balancing breath. You use the word inspiration. The Greek root of the word inhalation is in spiritus, to take in spirit. If that is my role, as it is yours, at this point in my life, to inspire, it is that we breathe together. If we breathe together as one, and we all share breath, let that breath be filled with spirit. And then let it go, the expiritus, the little death, the exhale, let it go to bring in the next one, and the next, and so forth. So we inspire each other. There is no story without a listener. There is no listener without a teller. There is no teller without a story. And so it is a mutual love of the story told.